I'll give you a little bit of background on the Brainbusters.
Yeah.
So both men were originally in the Four Horsemen with Ric Flair. So the first original unit of that group was Ric Flair, Ole and Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard. So Ole and Arn Anderson aren't actually related.
Yes.
Anderson's like a wrestling name that's gone through various rugged-looking people. It just happened to be that Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson, if you said they're related, you kind of go, oh,
you could kind of believe it, couldn't you?
They're balding, but they've got the same goatee, facial hair, and they've got fairly stocky physical builds. Their manager was James Dillon, and that was the original set of the Four Horsemen. Under the Jim Crockett reign, and as it started to transition to the WCW format that we then became familiar with, WCW went through a lot of top bookers. So the guy that was making the decisions, and not all of them came from a wrestling background. One in particular, now I believe this to be correct, is Jim Herd. I know Jim Herd was definitely a booker.
Okay.
Jim Herd did not come from a wrestling background. He was, I believe, a high up managerial force within Pizza Hut. He made such questionable decisions that basically Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard went, we are done with this. Ric Flair would eventually also be done with this as well. And I'm pretty sure this was under Jim Herd's reign. It might have been someone else. I know Jim Herd actually had massive falling outs with Ric Flair as well.
Right.
So Ric Flair, being the nature boy with the long kind of bleached blonde hair, Jim Herd was like, well, I don't like this look anymore. I think we need to change it up. He wanted Ric Flair to cut his hair short and be renamed as Spartacus.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yes. He said the look didn't carry anymore. It wasn't working.
Oh, how wrong he was.
He was very wrong. And the Brainbusters, they weren't known as the Brainbusters in WCW. It was just Arn and Tully, because you didn't need a silly gimmick name. And the Brainbusters, let's be fair, is a stupid, awful name.
Yeah.
The tag team, great. They weren't for too long, or sorry, I should say they didn't stay too long in WWF. They basically got brought back in when Ric Flair got more say in WCW. However, there's an interesting story about how they left WWF as well. So, Tully Blanchard is a man of demons, I think it's fair to say, with certain addictions. And when they were preparing to leave the WWF didn't have an issue with them leaving, other than the fact that, they were going to the competition effectively. WWF were in the midst of doing random drugs tests, because this was at the time where they kind of implemented it with the Dr. Zahorian steroid trials and issues, but they weren't just testing for steroids, they were testing for other things.
Anything.
Yes. And just when Tully Blanchard was about to leave, it was confirmed that the WWF popped him for cocaine.
Okay.
So he tested positive for cocaine. This somehow made it into the general, population. It became knowledge that this was the case. WCW went, well, we don't want you.
Oh, I see.
So Tully Blanchard...
I was about to say, why does that matter? He's leaving, but effectively, you've got no job to go to.
WWF didn't take him back, because they only wanted him if he was going to be part of the Arn Anderson package.
Yeah.
Arn Anderson was able to get the job back there. Tully Blanchard was done. That kind of brought the main part of his wrestling career was kind of brought to an end because of that. And he had some really good matches back in the day. I'm talking I think it was 1984, 85. Might have been the very first Starrcade or the second Starrcade. He had a United States title match with Magnum TA, and that's a story for a different time. But very, very famous match that still holds up well to this day, I think. Okay. And that kind of really brought an end to the main part of Tully's career. He then made sporadic appearances here or there, but I think they were in the WWF for just over a year, 2 years at most, and they were gone. Wow. And that's how it kind of all works out. So, and funny enough, I don't think Ric Flair and the Brainbusters were ever in the WWF at the same time.
Oh, okay.
They left, went back to WCW. Ric Flair then had his falling out. He bounced.
I see.
Thank you, everyone, for the support you guys have shown us so far. It means the world to us. Holly, what do we want to remind the people?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications.